Okay, are you ready for some serious relationship drama? Because today we're diving into the world of infidelity, as told through real stories shared on Reddit.
Ooh, juicy.
It's going to be good.
Ah.
Think shocking discoveries, clever detective work, and maybe even a little bit of karma.
I always find it fascinating how these stories drawn from the Reddit Trash Love podcast give us a glimpse into just how complex relationships can be and the lengths people go to uncover the truth.
Right, it's like a real-life soap opera, but with real emotions and consequences.
Well,
But beyond the drama, what I find really interesting is the psychology behind it all.
yeah.
Like, why do people cheat? How is it discovered? And what can we learn from these experiences?
Exactly. We'll be unpacking those questions as we delve into these stories, and who knows, you might even pick up a few tips on how to spot a cheater.
Well, let's hope not.
Though hopefully you won't need to use them.
Yeah, let's hope not. Okay, first up, we have a story that proves sometimes even our furry friends know more than we do. It's titled, "He Thought I'd Never Find Out Until My Dog Exposed Him." This one starts with Sarah and Jake, a couple who seem to have it all 6 years together, wedding planning in full swing, the whole 9 yards.
Picture of domestic bliss.
Right. But as we often see in these stories, appearances can be deceiving.
Mm-hmm.
So one night, Jake tells Sarah he has to work late, which isn't unusual. But here's where things take a turn. Sarah's golden retriever, Max, starts acting strangely. He's sniffing around the guest room, scratching at the door, whining like crazy. It's like he knows something's up.
It's almost as if Max is sensing a disruption, in the familiar energy of the house. Or maybe even picking up on Sarah's own unease. Dogs are incredibly intuitive creatures.
Right. Like, it basically makes you wonder how much they really understand.
I know.
So Sarah, being a naturally curious person, decides to investigate. And what does she find hidden under the bed?
Don't tell me another woman.
A woman's earring.
Oh, no.
And it definitely doesn't belong to her.
Uh,
Now, many people might react with immediate anger or confrontation in this situation. But what's interesting about Sarah is how she handles it. Instead of blowing up, she stays calm and decides to gather more evidence.
Smart.
She even comes up with a clever little trap.
Ooh, I love it.
She casually asks Jake the next day, "Hey, have you seen my earring? I think I lost one in the guest room."
Smooth. Very smooth.
Right.
A classic test to gauge his reaction. See if he'll slip up.
And, of course, Jake denies seeing anything.
Busted.
Sarah, not falling for it, does some more digging. She checks their security cameras, and boom, there's the confirmation she needed. The footage shows Jake bringing someone over while she was at work. Needless to say, the wedding was off, the ring was returned, and Jake was left begging for a second chance.
It's almost like a classic detective story with Sarah playing the role of the astute investigator. What's striking about her approach is that she remains calm and collected throughout the ordeal. She avoids a potentially explosive confrontation, gathers her evidence, and then takes decisive action. It's a masterclass in maintaining composure under pressure.
Totally.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder, what was going through Sarah's mind during all of this? Was she heartbroken? Angry? How did she manage to stay so level-headed?
That's a great question, and one we can only speculate on. Every individual processes betrayal differently. Some might lash out, others withdraw, and some, like Sarah, might channel their energy into uncovering the truth.
Yeah, it's like there's a whole other layer to this story that we don't get to see. Okay, ready for another dose of drama?
Hit me.
This next one had me cringing, I'll be honest. It's
Yeah.
titled, "He Took His Mistress to My Favorite Restaurant."
Oh, this is a classic tale of audacity, and perhaps a complete lack of self-awareness.
So we're talking about Lisa and Dan, a couple who've been married for 10 years.
Hmm.
Dan travels frequently for work, which Lisa never really questioned until one fateful night. She decides to have dinner with her best friend at her favorite restaurant, a place with a lot of sentimental value for her and Dan.
Ah, I see where this is going. The restaurant holds a special meaning for them, likely filled with happy memories. Choosing that specific location for a clandestine rendezvous is quite a bold and perhaps insensitive move.
Right, so Lisa and her friend are enjoying their evening when who does she see sitting there holding hands with another woman?
Oh, no.
Dan. At first she tries to convince herself it's just a colleague or something. But then the waiter comes over.
Oh,
This waiter has known Lisa and Dan for years.
oh, it's bad.
And how does he greet the other woman? As Dan's wife.
The sting of that, not only is Dan blatantly cheating, but he's doing it in a place that holds such emotional significance for Lisa. And with a waiter who's essentially an unwitting accomplice to the betrayal, the layers of disrespect are astounding.
It's almost too much to bear. But here's the thing. Lisa doesn't cause a scene. She doesn't confront Dan or the other woman. She simply leaves the restaurant and goes home.
Interesting. We see another example of a calm and collected reaction in the face of infidelity. Makes you wonder, what's her strategy here?
She's playing the long game. Instead of an emotional outburst, Lisa takes decisive action. She cleans out their bank account, changes the locks and files for divorce the next morning. Bam!
Yes, that's Elisa taking back control. She's not interested in a messy public confrontation. She's protecting herself financially and emotionally. There's also a certain sense of poetic justice in her actions. Dan loses his wife and potentially faces significant financial consequences.
It's a reminder that actions have consequences. Sometimes those consequences are swift and severe. But it also makes you think about the psychology of choosing such a meaningful location for the betrayal. What does that say about Dan?
It's a fascinating question. Perhaps it's a twisted sense of entitlement or a complete disregard for Lisa's feelings. Maybe he subconsciously wanted to get caught, or maybe he simply didn't think about the implications of his actions. It's difficult to say for sure without knowing more about Dan's personality and motivations, but it certainly adds another layer of complexity to the story.
It really does. Okay, are you ready for one more tale of infidelity before we take a break?
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
This one involves some serious detective work and the clever use of technology. The title is, My Husband Faked a Business Trip, but I Outsmarted Him.
Ooh, technology's role in modern relationships. It can be a powerful tool for connection, but also for uncovering secrets.
So true. Meet Rebecca and Chris, another seemingly happy couple.
Yeah.
Chris has a business trip coming up, which is pretty routine for them, but Rebecca has this nagging feeling that something isn't right.
Intuition is a powerful force. It often picks up on subtle cues that our conscious mind might miss.
Yeah, it's like our internal alarm system going off.
Exactly.
So what does Rebecca do? The night before Chris's supposed departure, she slips a tiny AirTag tracker into his suitcase, just in case.
Now, for those who aren't familiar, an AirTag is a small coin-sized device that uses Bluetooth technology to track the location of items. It can be attached to keys, wallets, luggage, and apparently even a cheating spouse's suitcase.
Exactly. So the next day, Chris calls Rebecca saying he's landed safely and has a long day of meetings ahead of him.
Yeah.
But when Rebecca checks the AirTag, Chris's suitcase isn't in another city. It's at a hotel 5 blocks away.
The audacity. It takes a certain level of boldness or perhaps naivete to believe you can pull off a deception like that in today's tech-savvy world.
Right. It's like he underestimated Rebecca's resourcefulness. But here's the best part. Instead of confronting Chris over the phone, Rebecca decides to take matters into her own hands. She puts on her detective hat and drives straight to the hotel.
I love where this is going.
Using some quick thinking and a little fake crying, she convinces the receptionist to give her Chris's room number.
Sneaky, sneaky.
She goes up to the room, knocks on the door, and guess who answers? Chris, in a bathrobe with his coworker standing right behind him, busted in the most spectacular way.
Wow, what a confrontation. It's like something straight out of a movie. But it also raises some interesting questions about the ethics of using technology for surveillance in relationships. On the one hand, Rebecca had a gut feeling that something was wrong and used technology to confirm her suspicions. But on the other hand, is it ever okay to track someone's movements without their consent, even if you suspect them of wrongdoing?
It's a tough one. Where do we draw the line between protecting ourselves and invading someone's privacy?
Exactly. It's a complex issue with no easy answers, but perhaps it's a conversation worth having, especially as technology continues to blur the lines between our public and private lives.
For sure. We'll be right back in part 2 with more stories and insights. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of Reddit relationship drama, where we're exploring the dark side of love and the unexpected ways infidelity comes to light.
You know, we've already heard some pretty intense stories about betrayal and the lengths people go to uncover the truth.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder what other secrets are lurking beneath the surface of seemingly perfect relationships.
Yeah, these stories shared on the Reddit Trash Love podcast offer a raw and unfiltered look at the complexities of human relationships, reminding us that things are not always as they seem.
Right. And it's not just about the drama. I find it fascinating to explore the psychology behind these actions. Like, what drives someone to cheat? And what are the emotional and psychological impacts on both the cheater and the betrayed?
Exactly. These stories provide a rich tapestry of human behavior, offering glimpses into the motivations, justifications, and consequences that surround infidelity.
Okay, so let's jump into another story. This one takes us into the realm of long-distance relationships, which, as we know, come with their own unique set of challenges.
Sure.
The story is titled, I Thought He Was Visiting His Sick Grandma, until I saw his Instagram story.
Uh-oh. The perils of social media in the age of digital transparency. It seems like almost everyone leaves a digital footprint these days, making it harder and harder to keep secrets hidden.
This story starts with Emily and her boyfriend Mark, who have been dating for about a year. They live in different states, but are planning to move in together soon. It's an exciting but also vulnerable time in their relationship.
Yeah. Distance can certainly put a strain on relationships, leading to feelings of insecurity and a heightened need for reassurance.
So Mark tells Emily that he has to fly back home for a few days to visit his sick grandmother.
Okay.
Sounds perfectly reasonable, right? A dutiful grandson tending to his family.
On the surface, it seems like an innocent trip filled with familial obligation and care.
Exactly. But Emily, missing Mark terribly, decides to check his Instagram for any updates. And what does she find? Photos and videos of Mark partying it up at a music festival with a group of friends. No grandma in sight.
Oh, the classic Instagram blunder. It seems Mark forgot about the power of social media to expose the truth.
And to make matters worse, he even tagged his location, making it impossible to deny. It's like he wasn't even trying to hide it.
Perhaps he underestimated Emily's social media savvy or simply didn't consider the consequences of his actions. It's a reminder that even in long-distance relationships, trust and transparency are so crucial.
So how does Emily react to this blatant betrayal? Does she confront Mark over the phone?
She does, but not in the way you might expect. Instead of unleashing her anger or demanding an explanation, Emily calmly packs her bags, changes her flight, and shows up at the music festival unannounced.
Whoa, what? That's a power move. I bet Mark was completely caught off guard.
You can imagine the shock on his face when Emily walks right up to him while he's dancing with another woman and says, "Looks like Grandma's feeling much better."
Mic drop. I bet that shut down the party pretty quickly. What a satisfying moment.
It's a classic example of taking control of the situation and delivering a message loud and clear. Emily didn't allow herself to be a victim of Mark's deception. Instead, she chose to confront him directly and on her own terms.
So what happens next? Does Mark try to explain himself? Do they work things out?
Not a chance. Emily dumps him right then and there in front of all of his friends. She doesn't give him the opportunity to make excuses or plead for another chance.
Good for her. She deserves so much more than a partner who lies and deceives her.
It's a great story because it highlights the importance of self-respect and setting boundaries in relationships. Emily refused to tolerate Mark's behavior and chose to walk away with her head held high.
It's a reminder that sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on with your life and finding someone who treats you with the respect you deserve.
Okay.
So we've seen infidelity exposed by a dog, a waiter, an AirTag, and now Instagram. What other creative ways have people uncovered their partner's secrets?
Well, this next story involves a bit of classic detective work and a keen eye for detail. It's titled The Case of the Missing Parking Ticket.
Ooh, this sounds intriguing. I love a good mystery.
It starts with a woman named Jessica who notices something peculiar about a parking ticket her husband David received.
What was so strange about a simple parking ticket? Was it for an exorbitant amount?
No, it was something far more subtle. The date and time on the ticket didn't match up with David's supposed whereabouts.
Interesting. So he claimed to be somewhere else when he actually got the ticket.
Exactly. David told Jessica that he was at a work conference out of town, but the parking ticket was issued right in their own city.
Ah, the classic alibi that falls apart under scrutiny. What does Jessica do with this newfound information? Does she confront David immediately?
No, Jessica, like a true detective, decides to gather more evidence. She meticulously checks David's credit card statements, phone records, and even his social media activity, looking for inconsistencies in his stories.
She's like a one-woman CSI team piecing together the puzzle of David's deception.
And it doesn't take her long to uncover a pattern of suspicious behavior. For example, David claimed to be working late one night, but his credit card was used at a romantic restaurant across town.
And I bet he wasn't dining alone. The evidence is starting to pile up against David.
Indeed. Armed with this incriminating information, Jessica confronts David about her findings. At first, he tries to deny it, but eventually the weight of the evidence becomes too much to bear, and he confesses to having an affair.
Wow, so a seemingly insignificant parking ticket unravels a whole web of lies. It's amazing how often small details can reveal a much larger truth.
It's a reminder that dishonesty often leaves a trail of breadcrumbs. And in the digital age, it's becoming increasingly difficult to cover your tracks.
It's almost as if the truth has a way of finding its way out no matter how hard someone tries to conceal it.
These stories are certainly captivating, like watching a real-life drama unfold, but it's important to remember that behind the entertainment value, there are real people with real emotions involved.
Absolutely. Infidelity can cause immense pain, shattering trust, and leaving deep emotional scars. It's a serious matter that shouldn't be taken lightly.
Agreed. And while these stories offer a glimpse into the darker side of relationships, it's important to remember that not all relationships are plagued by such drama.
That's a good point.
Okay, I think we have time for one more story. What else have you uncovered from the depths of Reddit?
Well, this one is a bit more lighthearted than the previous ones, but it still highlights how easily secrets can be revealed in our digitally connected world. It's called My Boyfriend's Smartwatch Exposed His Secret Hobby.
Ooh, this sounds fun. What kind of secret hobby are we talking about? Was he secretly a stamp collector? A competitive knitter?
It wasn't anything quite so quirky. It was, line dancing.
Line dancing. Really? That's not exactly the most scandalous secret hobby.
No, it's not. But for her boyfriend, Kevin, it was a source of embarrassment. Apparently, he had always wanted to learn how to line dance, but was too shy to tell anyone, even his girlfriend, Megan.
I can kind of understand that line dancing isn't exactly seen as the coolest hobby, but hey, if it brings him joy, who are we to judge?
Exactly. It's a reminder that we all have our own unique interests and passions, even if they don't conform to societal expectations. But back to the story, Megan noticed some unusual activity on Kevin's smartwatch one day.
Like what? Was he burning an excessive amount of calories? Well, yes, actually. His smartwatch was tracking his heart rate and steps as usual, but it also showed that he was burning a significant number of calories at a specific location every Tuesday night.
Intriguing. What was he doing at this mysterious location?
Megan, piqued by her curiosity, decided to follow Kevin the next Tuesday evening. She tracked him to the address shown on his smartwatch, which turned out to be a local community center.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What did she discover? Was he secretly training for a marathon?
Not quite. Megan walked into the community center and found Kevin front and center line dancing his heart out with a group of enthusiastic dancers.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I can only imagine the look on her face.
Megan was initially shocked, but then she started laughing. She couldn't believe that her shy, reserved boyfriend was secretly a line dancing enthusiast.
What a fantastic twist. So did she join him?
She did. Megan thought it was endearing and decided to embrace Kevin's quirky hobby. They ended up taking line dancing classes together, turning it into a fun and unexpected couples activity.
I love that. It's a nice reminder that not all relationship drama has to be negative. Sometimes it can lead to discovering new things about our partners and even strengthening our bond.
Absolutely. And it highlights the importance of communication and acceptance in relationships. We all have our quirks and hidden passions. The key is to approach them with a sense of humor and understanding.
We'll be back in part 3 with our final thoughts on these fascinating tales of love betrayal and the unexpected ways the truth comes to light. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the deep dive. You know, we've been spending this episode uncovering all the secrets and scandals of infidelity with these real-life stories from the Reddit Trash Love podcast.
It's crazy, right? I mean, we've explored everything from cheating spouses who got exposed by their own dogs to people using technology like AirTags and social media to uncover the truth. It's wild.
It's like a crash course in detective work.
Seriously. But it's also been a fascinating look at, at the psychology behind infidelity and all the different ways people react to betrayal. It's heavy stuff.
It is heavy, yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into all this drama, what are some of the key takeaways you've noticed? What really stuck out to you as we navigated all these crazy stories?
Well, one thing that really stood out to me was the power of intuition. You know, in so many of these stories, the person who suspected their partner of cheating, they had this gut feeling something was off, way before any hard evidence came to light.
Oh, yeah, you're so right. It's like this inner voice whispering doubts and suspicions long before our logical mind catches up,
Exactly. It's a good reminder to trust your instincts. When something feels off in a relationship, pay attention to those subtle cues. Don't ignore them.
It's easier said than done, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, ignoring those feelings probably feels easier in the moment.
It does in the moment, yeah. But, those feelings, they rarely just disappear.
And it's been fascinating to see all the different ways infidelity gets uncovered.
Right.
It seems like anything goes, from those accidental slip-ups to like meticulously planned investigations.
Right. It's like people have used everything, from their pets' weird behavior to super high-tech gadgets to expose the truth. It's kind of impressive in a way.
Totally. It really shows you there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to this stuff.
And I think it also says something about our times. We live in a world where information is everywhere, and technology can be a double-edged sword. It can connect us, but it can also be used as a weapon to dig up secrets.
That's so true. Speaking of technology, We've seen how devices like AirTags and social media have become major players in these stories. It really makes you think about the ethics of it all, right?
Definitely. It's a really complex issue. On the one hand, these tools can empower people to find out the truth and protect themselves. But on the other hand, there's the whole question of privacy and consent. When does checking up on your partner cross the line?
That's a tough one to answer.
Yeah.
And it seems like technology is always evolving, which makes things even more complicated. Blurring those lines between what's acceptable and what's not,
Yeah, that's the thing with technology. It changes so fast, it's hard to keep up.
for sure. And besides all the tech stuff, these stories have really highlighted just how much pain and damage infidelity can cause. It's a reminder that it's not just some plot in a TV show. It has huge real-life consequences that can impact families and communities in devastating ways.
Agreed. It's important to approach these stories with a lot of sensitivity and recognize that there are so many different sides to every situation.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into the crazy world of Reddit relationship drama, what's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
That's a good question. I think the big question we all need to consider is how do we navigate trust and privacy in our relationships? Especially in this day and age where everything's out in the open.
That's a huge question for sure. And food for thought for everyone listening out there. And hey, if you're looking for more stories about love and betrayal and all the drama that comes with relationships, the Red Trash Love podcast has a ton of them.
Just be prepared for some twists and turns and maybe a few jaw-dropping moments along the way.
Exactly. You've been warned. But hey, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the captivating and sometimes unsettling world of relationships. Until next time, stay curious and remember, real life can be just as wild and crazy as anything you see online.